All right, so as I approach my vehicle, I would check my 3 L's, my leaks, my leans, and my lenses. First thing we're gonna check is our leaks, our leaks. Make sure that my vehicle isn't leaking any fluid. Could be power steering fluid, coolant, oil, fuel. Next, I'm gonna check to make sure my vehicle isn't leaning. If my vehicle was leaning, could indicate a suspension problem, a flat tire, or a shift in my cargo. Next, I'm gonna check and make sure that all my lenses are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, clean, and of the proper color. Next, I would check my windshield to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, clean, free of any illegal stickers. Check my windshield wipers to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and have the proper tension to my windshield. Next, I would check the rubber seal around my windshield to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, no cuts, bumps, abrasions, not ripped, torn, frayed, or dry rotted. That takes care of that. After that, you come to your vehicle, make sure you use 3 points of contact at all times, all right? Foot here, foot on the ground, 2 hands on here. Open it up, guide it back, don't let it snap back, because it'll knock you over. Come to your passenger side. We do a general overview of all our wires and hoses. I'll do a general overview of all my wires and hoses. Make sure they're properly mounted and secured. There's no rip, tears, or frays, cuts, bumps, abrasions. Everything is secured on each end. I would also check, and there's no leaks. I would also check to make sure that all my clamps are present, properly mounted and secured. Then we move over to the driver's side. Move over to the driver's side. Again, do a general overview of all our wires and hoses. Make sure they're properly mounted and secured. Not ripped, torn, frayed, dry rotted. There's no cut, bumps, abrasions. Everything is secured on both ends and nothing's leaking. Start with your coolant reservoir. My coolant reservoir is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. My cap is on secure. It is filled to the proper manufacturer specifications. I would also check to make sure that any wires or hoses coming to and from my coolant reservoir is properly mounted and secured. There's no rip, tears, or frays, nothing's leaking. Next, we check our oil fills, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. My cap is on secure. Next, we check our oil dipstick, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. It's not leaking any oil. To check it, I will use a double dip method. Next, we check our power steering reservoir. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, not leaking. My cap is on secure. If I were to remove my cap, it would double as a dipstick. I would also check to make sure that the hoses coming to and from my power steering reservoir, there's no cut, bumps, abrasions. They're properly mounted and secured on each end, and it's not leaking. Next, I would check a steering shaft or column. Either one works, all right? My steering shaft or column is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. Check my pitman arms, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. Check my tie rod. My drag link. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. Check my steering knuckle to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. I would also check my tie rod to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. Next, I would check to make sure that both my castle nuts and cotter pins are in place. Nothing's cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. It's properly mounted and secured. Now, let me give you all a little trick what you can do on your test. I would check my steering shaft, my pitman arm, my drag link, my steering knuckle, and tie rod all the same way to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. That takes care of everything. And then you just got to come back and add the castle nuts and the cotter pin. All right, you got to do them all individually. Only thing you got to come back and individually do is your steering gearbox. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. It's not leaking. Also, the hose is coming to and from my steering gearbox. It's properly mounted and secured. There's no cut, bumps, abrasions. They're secured on each end and it's not leaking. Next, we check our frame. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, free of any illegal welds. That takes care of all that. Now we're going to move down to our suspension. My front and rear spring hangers are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. All my hardware is present. Next, I would check my actual leaf spring to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, not shifted, none are missing, and are well aligned. Next, I would check my U-bolts. Make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, no hardware is missing. Next, I would check my shock absorber. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured on each end. It's not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and it's not leaking. That takes care of your entire suspension system, all right? Now we're gonna move on to the brakes. Our brakes, my airline hose is properly mounted and secured. There's no cut, bumps, abrasions. It's secured on each end and is not leaking any air. Next, we move on to our brake drum. is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, no illegal welds. Also, it is free of any contaminants between the brake drum and the brake shoe. The brake shoe. All right, that takes care of your brakes. Now we on to the tire. My inner and outer sidewall. I would check this, make sure it's properly mounted and secured. There's no cuts, bumps, abrasions. It's properly seated to my rim. Next, we would check our tread. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured, worn evenly. This tread depth has to be at least 4/32 of an inch. To check it, I will use a tire depth gauge. Next, we're gonna check our rim, inner and outer. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. There are no illegal welds and no oblong bolt holes. Then we come down to our lug nuts. They want you to touch every one when you do the test. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. There's no shiny metal or rust trails. Next, you have to check your actual studs. Make sure that they're all present. They're not cracked, bent, broken, properly mounted and secured, and none are missing. Then I would check my hub oil seal, inner and outer. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. To check it, I will remove this cap and dip my finger in it to make sure that there is sufficient enough oil. Then we check our valve stem. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. Has a metal valve cap. To check it, I would use a tire pressure gauge to make sure that my tires are filled to proper manufacturer specifications. Next, I'm gonna check my lenses. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, clean, another proper color. Next, I would check my traffic monitoring devices. Normally, if it had cameras, I would check those as well, but I do not have cameras, I only have mirrors, so I'm gonna check them. Make sure my mirrors are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and clean. Next, we're gonna move on to our battery box. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. The wires to my battery are properly mounted and secured, not ripped, torn, frayed, and there's no signs of corrosion. Next, I would check my depth tank to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, not leaking. My cap is on secure. And there's also no metal-to-metal contact. Next, I would check the lines coming to and from my depth tank to make sure it's properly mounted and secured. There's no cut, bumps, abrasions. They're secured on each end and is not leaking. When you do your fuel tank, you say the same thing you said for your depth tank. The only thing you're saying is fuel tank now. My fuel tank, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. There's no metal-to-metal contact. It's not leaking any fuel. My cap is on secure. If I were to remove my cap, it should have a safety chain and a rubber seal on the inside. The lines coming to and from my fuel tank, properly mounted and secured. No cut, bumps, abrasions. They're secured on each end and it's not leaking. That takes care of this side of the truck. Then you come to the middle of the truck, we check our frame, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, no illegal welds. My cross members, I should have 3. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, no illegal welds, and none are missing. Now we're on to our coupling system. Start with your hoses and lines first. You have the state. My blue is my emergency. My blue is my service. My red is my emergency line. Green is electrical. I would check these to make sure they're properly mounted and secured on each end, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, ripped, torn, or frayed, or no cut, bumps, abrasions. And the reason you say that is because this is hard plastic. It can break. But sometimes they're rubber lines, so they could be, there's no cut, bumps, abrasions, all right? They're secured on each end. I would check my glad hands to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, not leaking any air. My electrical line is secured on each end, properly mounted and secured, not ripped, torn, or frayed. My header board is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. All my rivets are present. There's no signs of daylight, or you can say no holes. Either one works. Because I'm standing right here, we have a lens up here, and we have a lens down there. I would check my lenses again to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, clean, another proper color. Come down, check your trailer apron. My trailer apron is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. I have no gap between my skid plate and my trailer apron. There should be no signs of daylight. My fifth wheel skid plate is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and is properly greased. My release handle is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and is in a fully locked position with the safety latch down. My fifth wheel mounting platform is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. My fifth wheel platform mounting bolts are properly mounted and secured. All are present, nothing's cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. Then we do our trailer frame or skirt. All right, it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. My cross members are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken. None are missing. My trailer floor is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and there's no holes. Again, we got lenses back here. I would check these lenses to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken, clean, and of the proper color. Next, I'm gonna go ahead back up to my my coupling system. I'm gonna check my kingpin to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, or worn dangerously thin. I would also check my kingpin to make sure it's properly mounted and secured and fully locked around the shank of my kingpin. Now I'm gonna check the clearance between my mud flap and my landing gear. It's properly mounted and secured. I'm sorry, I got serious saying properly mounted and secured. There's enough clearance between my mud flap and my landing gear to make my turn safely. Check my trailer sidewalls, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken. All my rivets are present and there's no signs of daylight or holes. I would also check my DOT tape to make sure there's sufficient enough coverage on the side of my trailer. Check my landing gear. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and in a fully raised position. I would also check to make sure that my landing gear handle raises and lowers my landing gear properly and is in a fully latched position. Come on back in. Next, I would check my tandem release arm. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, in a fully locked position. I would also check my sliding tandem rail to make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and my sliding tandem pins to make sure they're properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, and in a fully locked position. Next, I would check my lenses again. It's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, bent, or broken, proper color, and clean. Come to your back of your trailer. You just do your lenses again. I would check my lenses to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, bent, broken, clean, and of the proper color. Next, the last thing I would check is my DOT tape to make sure that the rear of my trailer has sufficient enough coverage. That concludes my pre-trip.